everyone. Thanks for joining me. Y'all, it is hot in this kitchen. I am burning up. I don't know why I decided to make spaghetti sauce or pasta sauce, tomato stuff. Today it's hot. But I'm Tia and thank you for joining TT's Urban Pantry. Today I actually have two things going on. The first thing is I have some plain tomato sauce that I am about to can up. But before I start canning that, I want to get started on my pasta sauce that I am also making as well. So I'm going to turn the heat down on my tomato sauce. And then I'm going to get started on my pasta sauce. So the difference between tomato sauce and the pasta sauce is the tomato sauce is just straight tomato products. No seasoning. I did put in a little sugar, probably a cup and a half of sugar, just to offset the acidic tomato taste. But I want to get started on my pasta sauce first, which is going to have more seasonings. It's going to have more of a Italian type blend to it. So right now I'm pouring in my sauteed garlic, onions, peppers, and mushrooms. Put those down in there. So I have one green pepper, one onion, about 8 ounces of the mushrooms that I canned up just the other day, and 2 heads of garlic. I'm going to start pouring in my tomatoes, which are store-bought tomatoes. I get these at Costco and love them. It's the Nina brand, San Marzano. And there are about 10 cups in here of tomato and the tomato puree, and about 40 tomatoes. I'm going to put a little bit of water in there. And because these tomatoes are whole, I'm going to have to crush them. So my hands are clean, but just to make sure, since I'm putting my hands down in there, I'm going to wash my hands again. What I do is I get these big can of the San Marzano tomatoes, and they're Roma tomatoes. I get those 3 or 4 at a time when we go to Costco. I never want to run out because when I use them in a big amount. So if you can see, that's how they look, taking them out of the can. And I just grab them and squeeze them. But I squeeze them down in here because the tomato juice and seeds will go everywhere. Real quick, and do it before you start your heat. I was dumb once and decided to, I'm gonna let it cook for a while. Yeah, that didn't work. About burned my hand off. So I think I got them all, and I leave them chunky. So it's okay if you don't have them all. And these do have basil leaves in them. I always take, before I even put the can opener to the can, and I clean the tops and the sides because I know I'm going to be in contact with them and they could be dusty or something like that. So all my cans are cleaned up. I am going to start my heat just so I can start to heat up since I have more contents in here now. So that's my second can, which is, now we're up to about 20 cups of tomato and tomato puree, and about, what's that, 80 tomatoes. Last can. I am going to add to it as well for the tomato sauce, the pasta sauce, which is this, the more seasoned blend. I am pressure canning it. So we have more wiggle room on what we can add to it than the straight tomato sauce, which is going to be water bath canned. All right, wash my hands again, see if I can pick that up for you. I do have some whole tomatoes that I have canned up that I want to throw in real quick. I'm throwing in all that tomato juice. I want it all. So this added probably another between probably 5 to 6 tomatoes that we're adding to all of this. And there, we're done with that. We don't have to squish anything else back up. And it never fails. Every time I do my pasta sauce, I always make a mess. I have tomato sauce everywhere. In addition to those 3 jars, I also have 6 cans of diced tomatoes. I added 2 per number 10 can. When I do tomato sauce, I go hard. I do not want to have to do it again for a while. So why just make a little bit when I can make a lot of it and not be bothered? I'm also putting in some of my home canned diced tomatoes, and those have a little bit of basil in them as well. And now I'm going to stir it all up. I'm going to take my immersion blender or hand blender and just kind of puree more. You don't need this. Before I got this, I just kind of left it where it was, but I actually like the texture that it comes with now. And this didn't cost a lot. I think like $20, and it also came with some other attachments that I can take this off and connect it to. Did that for both this and the tomato sauce. My tomato sauce, which like I said was just tomatoes, but it was 2 of the number 10 cans, 2 of these little 14.5-ounce cans, and 1 jar of my own whole tomatoes that I had canned up. I'm not going to season this yet. I want it to come up to temperature and kind of let all those different flavors incorporate, and then I can see what I'm working with. I already know I'm gonna need some sugar in there, maybe some garlic powder. I personally try not to add salt because I like salt and I end up over salting the final product. And I don't have anyone here to taste it for me. but I think it looks beautiful. It is a little thin. That's why we're gonna let it cook down for a while with the top off. Let it thicken up, and then if I want to get it thicker, the final product, I do have a couple of the small jars of tomato paste. I actually added 1 jar of tomato paste to the tomato sauce. So while this is cooking up and coming to temperature, I am actually going to switch things over and take it to the island so we can start to fill our jars with the tomato sauce. Now I'm going to fill our jars with the tomato sauce. And for the tomato sauce, I am using the Ball Blue Book. And on page 35, just straight tomatoes and some acetic acid. So how I did the tomatoes is I did use 2 cans of the number 10 Roma tomatoes. I believe it was 2 cans of the small 2 cans of the small 14.5 ounce diced tomatoes, and 1 quart of my own whole tomatoes. And I'm using the electric water bath canner today. I like it because I can use it on my island and while the stove is still being used for something else. I'm not sure how much this is gonna make up, so we're gonna start with a little bit at a time. This is a ½ teaspoon of citric acid. And after adding all of that, all the tomato products, I did use the immersion blender and pureed it all. And with the top off of it, let it come up to temperature and kind of boil and constantly stirring because I didn't want it to stick to the bottom. But the reason I'm doing straight tomato sauce is because it's more versatile that way. I can use it and just use a seasoning blend or my own seasoning blend to make pizza sauce, or I can use it as a soup or stew base, or we can even puree it more finer and have tomato soup. But I kind of wanted a blank canvas with this, and that way if I wanted to incorporate it into other things besides an Italian style pasta dish, I would have that option here at my house and not have to go buy anything. And I believe we're going to fill it up to a ½ inch headspace. But yeah, I kind of wanted that blank canvas so I can use it for other things besides just spaghetti sauce or lasagna sauce or something like that. So there are our 2. I'm going to do a ½ inch. The whole hands-on process did not take long. As you see, I kind of filled all of that up in a fairly short amount of time. It's more just letting it cook down. I didn't want it too watery. I like this consistency as my blank canvas, and then when I go to use it, I can jazz it up then. If I want to saute some peppers and onions before I put this stuff in there, I can do that. I have that option. So, put this in the canner. All of these jars are very, very hot. I should probably be using this. tipped over. I'm not sure exactly how many jars I'm going to need, so I don't want to take them all out right now. Plus, whatever I don't use for this, I can use for that. So I don't want to put them away. So right now it's a guessing game. Filling. This will be the first time that I am pressure canning my tomato sauce or my pasta sauce back there. I've always water bath canned it, but then I've always been really restricted on what I could put in it. I've never put in bell peppers, and I've never put in mushrooms. I've always added that afterwards because I was water bath canning. Well, on the National Center for Home Food Preserving, their website, if you go to their website and you look under can, which is canning, because they also have dehydrating and freezing and smoking and what other methods there are of preserving your foods. So you'll want to go to can, and then they have a section just for tomato products. And I got this recipe off of their website. It also calls for celery, celery, mushrooms, oregano, minced parsley, black pepper, brown sugar. I've never used brown sugar for that, but I actually think I might use it. Might end up using less sugar in the long run than I would if I was using just regular granulated sugar. So I think I will use the brown sugar this time, but we'll see. But on there, because we are adding more vegetables, you don't want to get into any unsafe canning practices. So I've always held back when it's come to what I put into my pasta sauce. This is almost empty, and I didn't show what it looked like in here. But that's that. It was actually making the spaghetti sauce that got me into canning. One of my wishes was how you look online, if you look up pantry or anything, and you see the pantries with all the jars on the shelves. I always admired that. And it's hot, but I think I'm gonna pour it. But when we moved into this house, we had so much storage downstairs. We actually have 2 storage rooms, and that's just not even including the upstairs pantries or the other room that's in the basement in the man cave. And I also had that's that. I don't think we have enough for another quart. I really don't. So I might just take this and put it into the pasta sauce. But I've always had an electric pressure cooker. And on my electric pressure cooker, did we add this already? I do know for a fact you can't have too much, so just to be on the safe side, we're going to put it in here. But on one of the dials on the electric pressure cooker it says canning. So I always thought, oh, I can use the electric pressure cooker to can. You absolutely cannot do that. So one of my good friends at work, she gave me her recipe to her family pasta sauce. She didn't even call it spaghetti sauce because it varied on what you could use it for. But she gave me that recipe, and I just knew that I wanted to can it and put it all up. Well, I had no idea what I was doing. So while I'm in the process, I have the island and the counters full of tomato products, all types of stuff, and I have no idea what I was doing. So I was learning on the fly. I do have to admit that that very first time that I canned tomato sauce, it was not a safe recipe. Just thank God no one got hurt or anything. That was my ignorance. But it wasn't a safe recipe. I was putting all type of stuff into it. I really didn't know how long to can it for. I did have citric acid, but I think I just had like too many vegetables and everything, and nothing was measured out. You can still water bath can with the vegetables in there. You just need to have a small amount so that you're not potentially introducing your product to any type of botulism or anything like that. But I was so proud of myself when I actually finished it, and all this fantastic pasta sauce was now sitting on my island in my pantry for my cupboards. I wanted to do more. I just wanted to immediately learn how to do it and do more, and 4 years later, here I am. I don't know everything, but I'm all down to learn, see what I can do better. That's why I always ask for suggestions. If you are a long-time canner and you're like, no, you can cut this step and make it 5 times faster, I'm down for that. So we got 6 quarts out of those 2 number 10 cans, 1 quart of whole tomatoes, and 2 small cans of diced tomatoes, and 1 of the tiny cans of tomato paste. We are going to put those in our electric canner. Get this ready to boil. It does need to process for 40 minutes. And it's dirty, but that's fine. It's going in water, and it is going to be all cleaned off once it comes out. So we have to put this on top of it. The instructions say to make sure you put this on top once your load is full. It helps diffuse the heat so everything is heated equally, and it also helps with water splashing and splattering everywhere. My only downfall is this water is hot. I don't want to stick my hand in it, and once everything is done processing, this little handle is hot too. So be careful when you take your stuff out. And put the top on and turn it from high to canning. Once this comes up to a boil, it will boil for 40 minutes. And then we're going to move on to our pasta sauce and start to taste it and season it. Have I told y'all how much I love this Ball electric canner? It is so efficient. Our 40 minutes is up. I lowered the temperature. At the same time, I have this cooking. I'm able to do other stuff on my stove without having all of that space taken. Normally, when I make pasta sauce, spaghetti sauce, it takes me all day long. It is not taking me long at all. I know I'm going to have 2 batches, 2 canner fulls out of this, but that ain't nothing. So I'm gonna let this the temperature drop in this and fill these up, and then I will take these jars out. Here is our pasta sauce all ready to go. I did season it. I used, for the first time, 1 package of Mrs. Wage's Create Pasta Sauce. And it has in it salt, dehydrated onion, dehydrated garlic, paprika, citric acid, soybean oil, and maltodextrin. I don't know what that is. It was okay. I ended up doctoring it up anyways. I already knew I was going to doctor it up, but I don't think that there's anything in that I wasn't already getting from my home spices, so I wouldn't waste the money on that anymore. I did put in 2 cups of brown sugar. When I did my tomato sauce, where it was just about half of this recipe, I ended up using a cup of white sugar. So I don't think the brown sugar made me use less sugar. I ended up using about the same equivalent, at least I think so. I also put in some basil, oregano, a little bit of salt. I did not add any black pepper, and I also put in some garlic powder. I think the taste is really good. I might have put in a little bit too much sugar, but I'd rather put in too much sugar than too much salt, which was my worry. So I think that's all ready to go. I got my measuring cup here because that's what I like to use. I'm going to start filling our jars. I have 7 jars here, 7-quart jars, which are a canner full for my pressure canner. I'm not adding any citric acid to these because we're pressure canning these. It's a mixture between wide mouth and regular mouth. I would have had to open up a case of jars in order to get them all regular mouth, which I prefer, but I was like, I'm not doing that. I have jars here that are already open, already clean, already sanitized, ready to go. I'm going to use what I have on hand. Filling these to 1 inch headspace. But yeah, while this was just simmering and developing the flavor, I was able to go relax, start folding up some clothes. I really wouldn't have been able to do that. I feel like that I would have ended up having to wait. If I used the stove, I would have had to wait for this first batch to finish before I could even start preparing my hot jars to move on to this one. So that's my new thing. I definitely give it 5 stars. I like it. I'm glad I have it. Don't tell Mister. I almost wish I had to. Just filling these all up. I think I have 1 more canner full of the pasta sauce, which would give us 14 quarts of pasta sauce and 6 quarts of tomato sauce. Everything is full to 1 inch headspace. Wipe our jars off. And we will get started loading them in the pressure canner. See the tomato that comes off on this? If it was a pickle brine or something else, it wouldn't have a color to it. But this is why it's so important to make sure that you always wipe down your glass lids before putting your seals on there. And I think I have enough jars floating around this house put up to where I don't have to open up another case. But if I do, no big deal. That's why I buy them. Okay, I'm gonna load this in the canner and then we will take these out. So we will take these out, and this is the tomato sauce that is all done. Look at that. There is water on the top of those lids. Don't touch it, it's okay. Sometimes I will take a paper towel and let the water absorb, but I'm not putting any pressure on it. I'm not doing anything. I'm just letting the towel absorb all that water. But you don't want to try to wipe the water off because you could mess with the sealing process. You want to try your hardest to take these straight up and out of the canner. Try not to tip them. Whew. That is our 6 quarts of tomato sauce. Make sure I label those because I'm gonna keep confusing them. So this is just straight tomatoes, pureed tomatoes, seeds and everything. I also put in a cup of granulated sugar just to take that tomato bitterness out. But 6 quarts of that, and then we are currently processing 7 quarts of pasta sauce, and I think I will have enough for another canner load of 7 quarts of pasta sauce. So thank you for joining me. All done with 6 quarts of tomato sauce. Just plain tomato sauce that we can then season to make into whatever we want. And 14 quarts of pasta sauce, which is seasoned. It also has peppers, onions, garlic, and mushrooms in it. And 6 pints of the same pasta sauce, giving us a total of 17 quarts. Thank you for watching this video. More to come soon.